But with more on this, let's bring Doug Flynn in, the certified financial planner, co-founder of Flynn Zito Capital Management, to kind of continue a conversation, if we're being honest, that you and I have been having for a long time. And but these numbers were striking when you see, it's just, the stock market. People say it's down. You say no, it's up. But again, not today. But what do you make of this and the message in all of this?
I think it comes down to a lot of times what people are feeling. I don't know if you remember at the high point after the pandemic when they released all that cash into the economy, people had about $2.1 trillion in cash to spend. And the consumer is a big part of the economy. And so they spent that, and what was going on, they didn't really feel too much. That number's down to $40 billion. That means we're like a month or two away of those people having no money. So if their job isn't secure, or if there's a lot of other things going on, you're going to start to see a little bit of a turn in the economy there. And that's what's kind of the backdrop of what people are feeling, but also what's translating into the market, looking a little forward and saying, hey, is it as rosy as we think it is with the market?
It's a lesson in how multiple things can be true at once. It's not like they're wrong. Yeah. And I want to talk to you about a few other stories in the news today. We'll get to the Ticketmaster Live Nation thing in a moment. But I want to skip ahead, if I can, to Jamie Dimon, because Jamie Dimon's the CEO, probably the best-known CEO on Wall Street, at JPMorgan, and he made some more comments. He was talking to CNBC about all of this, about the economy. Says, hard landing. We might still get it, and he says, here's what the worst outcome might be. Listen to Jamie Dimon.
The worst outcome for all of us is what I call stagflation. Higher rates, a recession, that means corporate profits will go down, and we'll get through all of that.
Well, we'll get through all of it, he says, but it wouldn't be easy. That's not a good situation, stagflation. So do you think he's right? Because that would be saying that the people are right, at least about predicting the future, is how Jamie Dimon sees it.
I think he's sort of lowering expectations for everybody, and it really comes down to interest rates. He's saying that's the worst case scenario, and that is true, because that also comes with high unemployment along with it. And of course, like everything else, whether it's a recession or anything, we do get through these things. They're kind of normal parts of the economy, ebbing and flowing. But really, this is saying, hey, I think that, I don't think interest rates are going to be cut anytime soon, so let's sort of push that off. And we're also fearful of a hard landing, which is just sort of an airplane version of saying we're not going to ease our way into a smooth transition. We're going to have sort of a bumpy ride in getting, maybe an economic slowdown. And that's perhaps what people are feeling, lining it up. And that means rates may not come down really, really soon. So perhaps later in the year. I think that's what he's talking.
All right, now let's talk about that lawsuit I mentioned. I thought this was a really interesting story today where the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against Live Nation, Ticketmaster parent company, over these high prices. They say there's a monopoly driving up the prices for concert tickets. And now normal people have kids or just Taylor Swift fans, it doesn't matter if you have kids, would know this story, right? Because I've heard people going to Paris to see Taylor Swift, and they say it's cheaper for them to go to Paris. They get a hotel room, they get a plane ticket, they see Taylor Swift, than it is to watch her here. These ticket prices are really, really high. You wonder, you look at the service fees and the like, and whether the DOJ has a case here. What's your take on this and where it's going?
Yeah, so the Department of Justice wants to break it up, Live Nation, which it owns Ticketmaster. And realistically, they are really embedded. I mean, they do control, I think, 400 artists. They have 60% of venues. They have 80% of all the sales. They've even gotten into resales of tickets. Now you go on, they have resellers, so they're getting that piece. Look, I'm going to see the Rolling Stones tonight, and I was shocked at the price of those tickets. Admittedly, it's a bucket list item, so of course I'm going to do it. But yeah, those numbers are way high, and they think by breaking it up that's a chance to bring in some competition and get some lower prices. The artists are saying, there was one artist recently that the ticket price was $42.
Oh, I want to play that.
And said,
yeah, it's crazy, right? Because Mick Jagger's, he'll be all right, I think. Him and Keith Richards will get by. But this guy, Clyde Lawrence, was who you're talking about, who testified. And you're right. It's like these prices are through the roof, but he says they're not the ones benefiting. Watch.
The $42 a fan spent on a ticket, we received 12. We have no say in setting any of the prices of those things, yet some of them are Live Nation directly setting the price for things that they are paying to other entities that they might own.
Yeah, one more quick thought, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Ticketmaster has said, no, the artists, the venues, the sports teams set the prices. Well, The venues, maybe if they also partly own the venues, but I don't know how true that is, but we're going to find out. And that's what this lawsuit's going to bring, is some of those details. And perhaps maybe they do break it up. But remember, Live Nation is part of your S&P 500 fund. It is in the S&P 500. So you're paying it here. If you own that, maybe you're making it on the other side.
Always getting on both sides of it. Enjoy the show tonight. Doug Flynn with us today.